On this episode of EV Rider, we're going to find out what makes the EQS 580 SUV special. So this incredible Mercedes is appearing courtesy of Automotive Addicts, and publisher Malcolm Hogan is with me. Malcolm, let's start by asking you, what stood out most with this big old SUV?
So besides from being a fully electric, of course, the Hyperscreen, Mercedes version of their new infotainment, the MBUX, it's pretty impressive. You actually have this one long piece of glass that's encasing 3 different screens, and the center screen is probably the biggest I've had in a vehicle so far. And on the passenger side, you have this other screen as well, which allows you to interact, most of the vehicle controls. Entertainment items, stereo, you can pair your phone with it, stream some video. And from my understanding, when you do stream video, it kind of blocks out the driver so the driver cannot see what you're doing on the screen here on the passenger side.
I spent quite a bit of time playing with it today. It has got some incredible functionality, including the web browser itself. The web browser was nice and fast. This thing has a CPU with 8 cores, so it's pretty darn powerful. It's probably more powerful than a lot of workstations out there, and I don't know about you, but I didn't experience any lag during my time with it today.
Yeah, the system is very fast. Very responsive. It is a little overwhelming at first when you jump into the vehicle. I won't tell any stories about that, but myself being a computer person, computer science major and all that stuff, but getting into this car, you're kind of overwhelmed with everything. But I will say, after spending a couple hours with it, you get accustomed and acclimated to the functions and where everything is, how everything works. And in owning something like this, it wouldn't be any problem, I don't think, for anybody who's somewhat technically inclined to get familiarized with it and able to, operate everything smoothly.
And once you do, it is so deep in what it does. Even the dash display, moving over to that part of it, I found so many variations. It seems like anybody could dial it in the way they want it. Yeah.
It's very immersive, and using the Hey Mercedes system, when you brings up the prompt, you can ask it to do certain things.
Now, unlike some luxury SUV electric vehicles from, say, BMW and Genesis, the Mercedes pretty much forgoes physical buttons with the exception of what's on the steering wheel. Once you move over to the center stack, it is entirely touch. The good news is the touch points are nice and large due to that massive screen. And because the system is very logical in the way it's laid out, at least you're not going 2, 3, 4 items deep in most cases into the menu system. But still, I would prefer some redundancy with hard touch controls for things like the air conditioning. Our EQS came in this understated Alpine Gray. I thought it was incredibly plush. Given the weight, this car is more than 6,400 pounds. It does such a good job of masking how hefty it is.
It does, yeah. I was very, very well pleased with that as well. And in true Mercedes form, it just seems to react well to your inputs. And plus, the rear wheel steering is one of the most aggressive you'll find on a production vehicle.
Yeah, the turning radius in this car is going to surprise a lot of people. For a vehicle this big, the cornering is just incredible, thanks in large part to that rear wheel steering.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, your turning radius is very short.
And what did you think of the driver assist package on it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. I found this very, very well when I enabled the system and sat back and with my hand still on the steering wheel, it followed the lines correctly as I expected. No big surprises.
Any disappointments?
No disappointments. I wish it would have the next level autonomy where you can actually take your hands off of the steering wheel. But what I did notice, the camera system will constantly alert you that you cannot track your face because you have either your arms up there or the steering wheel is too low. It'll actually ask you to adjust the steering wheel a little bit higher so the cameras can see your face.
What struck me about it as compared to at least Ford, the placement for the Mercedes system seemed to be interrupted much more often by where you just naturally tend to place your hands. So if you place your hands at the 12 o'clock position on the steering wheel, you end up blocking the facial camera recognition system, and that freaks it out.
Yep, absolutely.
Let's talk about competition. What do you see as the primary competitors for this vehicle?
So actually, I see some of the bigger SUVs, talking, Lincoln Navigator, Cadillac Escalade. Of course, those aren't electrified yet. This is the first big SUV, full-size SUV that's electrified, I believe.
Yeah, for me, I'd say too, the competitors that I'd pick in the EV space today would be the BMW iX series and perhaps the Genesis electrified GV70 that we just had. Right.
And of course, those vehicles are a little bit smaller than this one, and you feel that big presence of this vehicle once you get in it. This one, funny enough, it is only configured with 2 rows of seating, 5 passenger, but you can get that optional 3rd row, which I believe a lot of people will in getting something this big.
Speaking of electric SUVs with available 3rd row seating, another competitor is Tesla's Model X. Now, rear seat passengers, they're going to have plenty of room. I don't care how tall you are, unless maybe you're an NBA player, you've got plenty of room to stretch out. And check this out. You've got power rear seats, both in terms of pushing it back and reclining. So you can fine-tune your seating position. The base version of the single motor EQS starts at under $106,000. While our moderately optioned 580 4MATIC trim checked in at just under $139,000. The EQS 580 gets an estimated 285 miles per charge. That's according to the EPA. But it looks like in the real world, the EQS 580 4MATIC will go much further. Malcolm saw an indicated range of 380 miles when he charged to 100%, even assuming the EQS was being overly optimistic. It's a safe bet. It will easily go 325 miles when sticking to speed limits in good weather. When it's time to recharge the EQS, it can certainly accept the electrons nice and fast. It'll charge at a peak of 200 kilowatts.
Design-wise, it does look a little different than a lot of other SUVs on the road, especially some of the traditional Mercedes SUVs. You have that big grille up front that's actually just an encased piece of plastic, I believe. But it's very, very well done, I think, because Mercedes actually adds, the little logos across the grille, which is a nice little touch.
Yeah, and they've really come up with a very cohesive design language for the EQ electric series of vehicles between the sedan and the SUV and the 2 smaller sedan and SUV models.
Yep.
With an excellent Burmeister 3D surround sound system and tons of luxury features, the EQS 580 4MATIC is a compelling option for those who can afford it. If you've enjoyed this road test of the Mercedes-Benz EQS 580, please give this episode a like and subscribe so I can bring you more adventures in EV motoring and more reviews like this one. We'll see you again soon, and thanks so much for watching.